The decision to foster or adopt changes everything.
Here's me.
Including the roles, relationships, and routines that define us as families. Considering how your family dynamics might change is an important part of the process. In the following segments, you'll learn how foster care or adoption can impact relationships both inside and outside your home, and how to manage some common challenges as your family's dynamics change. You'll hear from experts in the fields of foster care, adoption, kinship care, and trauma, and meet a couple who formed their family of 6 through adoption.
When we're talking about family dynamics in general, we're talking about interactions and relationships between members in a family. We're talking about roles, we're talking about attachments, we're talking about loyalties.
Foster care and adoption can change the dynamics of the relationships between family members inside the home, including spouses or partners, children already in the home, and biological siblings who come into care together, as well as extended family members and friends. In homes with 2 parents, it's critical to share parenting duties, communicate your needs, and show unity in decisions and discipline.
When you're thinking about fostering or adopting, you start immediately thinking about the child that you want to bring into your family. You start thinking about how it's going to have an impact on you as the parent or you as a couple.
Mace. Dre. Tina. Michael.
Meet Jonathan and Allison Douglas. The Douglases built their family of 6 through adoption.
John and I had been married probably about 7 years when we started fostering.
Raising children in general is hard on relationships at times. I mean, it can also bring you closer together. It can also be a joy that you share, but there's plenty of times when it can be a stress or a strain.
We share parenting. I mean, it is 100% both of us. It is not mom has certain tasks and dad has certain tasks. We share everything. I don't feel like I have the bulk of the burden.
You really have to be able to not only have frequent and ongoing communication, but you have to have little signals and ways to kind of cue each other.
And most of it is just checking in, and if one of us is feeling like we're not getting our needs met, is just saying like, hey, this isn't working right now.
Bringing a new child into the home can impact biological children and other foster or adoptive children already in the home.
Every family is unique. Every child is different. And so I think what's really important is that the family take a look at who the kids in their family are and the dynamics amongst the kids and the dynamics in the family.
Anytime a new child joins your family, it becomes this web of relationships. So it's not just about you and your relationship to that child.
If you have children in the home, then it's important to include them in the process. It can even become playful with them. So for example, as you're going around the community, you might say, oh, what would it be like if we had another child with us? What would it be like when we're sitting here at this restaurant?
As Jonathan and Allison welcomed new children into their home, they made sure to ease the transition by spending one-on-one time with the new child, as well as the children already living in their home.
The thing that we had to be really thoughtful about was making sure that all of the kids felt like they got time with us and that all of them felt like they were important.
I was intentional about taking a different child grocery shopping with me every week. So it can be built into routines that you already have. It doesn't have to be adding something on.
Family time is important too.
Have some little rituals, some traditions, some ways you do things that are inclusive and that you incorporate everyone in.
We love to go to the movies together. We go to lots of movies. We like to play games together. Every Christmas we add a new ornament to the tree. So each child gets to pick an ornament and we try to get them to choose something that they've been interested in the year.
So really doing things as a family, whether it's when you go on an outing, whether it's just that time you're hanging around together before bed.
When biological siblings enter care together, the dynamics of their relationship is likely to change.
Shoulder pads that people put over their eyes when they're sleeping?
When their son Tino's biological brother Michael joined the family, the Douglases had to help Tino adjust to his new role.
Before they came to live with us, Tino was really Michael's main caregiver. And we thought that Tia would be really excited to have Michael join our family right away. When that happened, he said, "Oh no, do I have to change diapers again?"
This is something you often find in sibling groups where their experience either of not having reliable parents care for them. One child in the sibling group really does take care of the other child or children.
It took years for Tino to get comfortable with us parenting and taking care of Michael.
But it's really important not to cut that child off from their role as sort of that parenting, caregiving too soon or too abruptly. So it's like enlisting that child as your support team.
Age-related considerations, chronological age, developmental age, and birth order can also change family dynamics.
Ray, look how little you were.
My mom is sweet. My mom is the best mom.
As soon as you bring multiple children from different families, you're changing somebody's birth order.
If you have a child who really wants to stay the youngest child, then maybe you're not going to be bringing a child into the home that's younger than that.
For the Douglases, that meant preserving Tino's status as the oldest child.
It's a little unnatural to have the oldest kid who's been the oldest kid and a primary caregiver of one of the other kids for so long to suddenly be replaced by somebody that's now the oldest child in the house. So that's the only real rule we had internally on placements.
Adoption and foster care also impacts your relationship with extended family members.
People like to have time to process. When you are pregnant and bringing a child into the family, your extended family has 9 months to get used to the idea, get excited with you, or express any concerns. And so you really want to, as much as possible, engage family members in the process, talk to them, get their views. It's not a democracy, you don't need to take a vote, but you want to see where your support is going to come from. You want to see where some of your challenges might be.
At times, foster and adoptive parents may feel judged, criticized, or even rejected by family members.
It's been challenging for some of our extended family to really understand how we parent. Often they think that we are too permissive, and at the same time, like, we're overbearing because we are always checking in. So they don't really understand that.
I've seen some adoptive parents actually get to the point where they've told relatives what's expected, how they need to have them treat the children.
We've had to agree that they don't have to get it, and that our kids are our kids and we know what's best for them. We just have to say, you don't get to pick the way we discipline, or you may not discipline our children.
What are you using that for?
John's dad is a pastor, and so they have some pretty specific beliefs about the way children should behave. And when Tino first came to join our family, he had quite a vocabulary of 4-letter words. And so we had to tell the pastor, listen, we're not going to correct that, because right now that's not what's important. We're focusing on things like building trust. And so that was new to them, to think, like, what? It's okay for a kid to use curse words? And we're like,
they
it's
rolled
fine.
with it.
When the new parent figure is a relative, like in the case of kinship care, there are additional considerations for changing roles.
The grandparent is now becoming the parent. The birth parent is no longer in a primary caregiver role. The child's line of accountability and responsibility and respect now changes from birth parent to caregiver.
For kinship providers, shifting the caregiver role from the birth parent to a family member creates conflicts of loyalty and authority.
Family members assume they have the same rights and privileges that they had before the child was moved into kinship care. It may mean the birth parent saying to the child, when grandmom speaks, she speaks for me. It may mean also the caregiver saying to that same child, I'm not going to replace mom, and I can't replace dad, but these are the things I'm going to do to show you that I deserve your respect.
Foster care and adoption can also affect a family's relationship with friends, neighbors, members of the community, even co-workers.
I do remember one of our friends saying, I love coming over to your house, but like your kids, man. And because they were just a lot for him to handle.
Unless they've also been foster or adoptive parents, they're not going to really get the day-to-day things you're going through.
Oh, Mommy, look, Hookie's in my Oh, come on. Give that to me.
I'm actually going to just put it over here.
Who has a silver Captain Marvel?
As the roles and relationships in your family change, you may encounter challenges and stress. Emotional stress affects all family members. Caregivers who manage stress well are those who can adapt their expectations, show unity, make time for self-care, and prepare their children and themselves for change. Adapting expectations can help foster and adoptive parents be more flexible with the needs of the children in their home, especially if they've experienced trauma, grief, and loss.
Children who come from backgrounds where there's been trauma or loss, often they feel they don't have a voice. They haven't had a voice. Their voice has been lost or taken away.
One of the things that I have noticed is that trauma symptoms for females and males tend to be a little bit different. We had lots of externalizing behaviors in the boys that came to us. All right. And then the girls that came to us typically had more internalizing behaviors. And I wish that I had known that early on, because internalizing behaviors often look like compliance and good behavior, but really are not.
And so what's going to be important is to be as open as possible for the unknowns that are going to come.
My definition of what success looks like has changed completely. For me personally, success meant perfection until these kids came to my life. And now success means meeting their needs.
A great example of that is one Halloween we were all going to carve pumpkins and everything was going to be perfect. And one of our kids was like, I really need to bash the pumpkin with a baseball bat. And there was a moment where we're like, no, this is all choreographed to be a pumpkin carving event. But we had the flexibility and the insight to say, you know what? Here's the baseball bat, go at it.
And at the end of that pumpkin session, he brought me a piece of pumpkin and said, this is my jack-o'-lantern. And he made a little face in it.
So we had 3 carved pumpkins and 1 completely smashed one, but 4 happy kids. And that was success that day.
So when you can give them opportunities to have that voice, again, that's part of healing, but that also means that they're less likely to need to express their voice through behaviors that are challenging.
To ease stress for all family members in the home, parents should show unity in decision-making and discipline.
When you're married or have a parenting partner, to the children, it has to show that you're on the same page about things. So I think it is important for children, especially those coming into your home from a difficult background or a trauma history, to be able to see, you know what, in this family people can have problems, they can disagree, and they solve it without anyone having to leave.
Making time for self-care often gets lost in the demands of parenting, but self-care is critical to help you manage stress.
You have to go into your journey of becoming a parent with some thought about how are we going to take care of ourselves, how are we going to make sure that we have the ability to manage stress. You have to think of what can I do that's even for 5 minutes on a daily basis.
Just being mindful about self-care is really important to me, because I could think of 50 things I could do to fill up an hour, but sometimes what I need to do is just take a nap or read or listen to music.
If you really build it into your life where you have those daily moments, it's kind of like the little valve on the pressure cooker. It's going to let off a little steam little at a time.
For children who have experienced trauma, unexpected changes to the family dynamic can be stressful. Preparation is the key to helping children adjust to these changes.
It's just really normal for kids to feel jealous and worried. And then if you add in some of the stress from trauma, maybe not getting enough food, then having a new person come in the family becomes even more stressful.
There might be children who worry, am I going to have to share everything that's mine, and am I going to lose all my privacy, or am I going to lose my time with you? Even children born to you and with a pretty secure upbringing to this point might have some of those fears and concerns.
They might need space from one another. They might want to spend time with different friends.
We've created a lot of separate spaces within the household too, where the kids can be and feel comfortable and feel safe.
So we were always very aware of that, and trying to also remember with behaviors that showed up when new kids came to the family that they wouldn't last forever. That really that's part of the stressor of adding someone new.
So just expecting that they're going to go back to that very early behavior when there's a stressful situation. And somebody new coming into a family, changing the family dynamic is definitely one of those situations.
Be mindful of how temporary placements may affect the children in your home.
When children are only going to be living together for a short period of time, it's important that children are prepared in advance. Sometimes they will start to fall in love with one another, and they will really want to be connected to that child, and soon after it might be the time that they have to leave.
We would consistently tell them, we're a place that kids can be safe until they can go back home to their mom or dad, or until the judge tells us what to do.
So prepping and doing a lot of prep work about what's going to happen then provides them some comfort when it does happen, because it's following the script you've kind of laid down is going to happen.
We actually had a sign made for our house, and it said, "You're safe, you're loved, there's always enough." Because when someone new joins the family, it can feel like there's not enough of you as the parent to go around, that there's not enough
Food.
Toys, food,
Yeah.
Stuff. And so just reminding our kids that there's always going to be enough for you was something that they found really comforting.
Being able to know that you have children that are growing up healthy, that have a sense of family, that have a sense of identity, that feel loved, that's what makes it worth it.
I love you, baby.
I love you.